Good afternoon. This is Enrique Hasso. I'm the director of TMDSAS and community engagement with the Texas Health Education Service here in Austin, Texas. Thank you all so much for your patience. We are kind of working around a little bit of a different schedule. You'll notice I'm not Sulema. She is out today, so I have agreed to cover today's office hours session. For those of you watching right now, these office hour sessions are an opportunity for you to ask us questions. So please feel free, if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, to go ahead and type in your questions. And I'll make sure to stick around until every last question is addressed. So until that time, I do want to kind of do a quick check-in to see where we're currently at. I'm going to share my screen here to see where we're at in the cycle, as well as our current processing times. So if you would just give me 1 second here. So here we are in the main TMDSAS homepage. And you'll see here on the right, we have the most current processing dates. You'll notice for any letters of evaluation submitted as of September 14th, I'm already thinking November. Those have already been processed, and any letters submitted via Interfolio as of September 14th are also accepted and submitted. Applications, we're currently processing applications submitted on August 28th. And just as a reminder, your transcripts are not due at TMDSAS until they are requested. So don't send in transcripts unless you are somebody that we have already asked for transcripts from. Currently in the application cycle, we have just passed the veterinary school deadline on September 18th yesterday. So all applications for veterinary school have been received, and we're currently processing those. We'll be getting them out to the veterinary schools as quickly as possible so that you all can start working on your secondary applications from Texas A&M School of Veterinary Medicine and Texas Tech University School of Veterinary Medicine. So we're really excited because this is the end of the cycle for our veterinary applicants, but it's really when things start to ramp up. So veterinary applicants, you'll hear back from the veterinary schools on interviews probably around early December. And that's when some of those interviews will begin. In between January and February, that's when offers of acceptance begin for our veterinary applicants. And April 15th is the deadline to accept any veterinary school offers. Now, veterinary is one of the smaller pools that we have. We still have, of course, our dental application is still open. The deadline for our dental applicants is November 1st. The same with our medical applicants. The deadline is November 1st. So you still have plenty of time to submit your application, get a quality application in. We have about 6 weeks until that deadline. So just as a quick reminder, this is a live Q&A session. So if you have any questions for me, go ahead and drop them here in the chat. All right, another new resource that we've developed here, you'll see is a page specifically for your evaluators. This is really handy if you have requested a letter of evaluation from someone who may not be familiar with TMDSAS or even dental, medical, podiatry, or veterinary school admissions. And so one of the things that we have here is some guides based off of FAQs that we get from evaluators. Number one up here is just a quick help guide on converting a Word document to a PDF to upload for our dental, medical, and podiatry applicants. Also, we have some guidelines here for writing a letter of evaluation. This is actually from our colleagues, created from our colleagues at the AAMC, the Association of American Medical Schools. And what this document represents is the collaborative work of the National Service for all medical schools, and also the national service that provides support to all our medical schools, including those here in Texas. And so one of the things that I do want to bring up is that a few years ago, there were core competencies that were outlined by the Association of American Medical Colleges. So what they did was identify the competencies that a physician should have by the time that they are already working with patients. and essentially reverse engineered those to figure out what those core competencies should look like at the point that they're looking at applicants to medical school. So they broke them out into three different categories: the thinking and reasoning competencies, which include critical thinking, quantitative reasoning, scientific inquiry, and written communication. We have our science competencies, knowledge of living systems and human behavior. And then our pre-professional competencies, which include service orientation, social skills, cultural competence, teamwork, oral communication, and ethical responsibility to the self and others, reliability and dependability, resilience and adaptability, and a capacity for improvement. Now, you'll notice that with these competencies, these aren't essentially things that you can go out and say in your essay, yeah, I'm a really resilient person. You know, it's like, what information can you tell us in your application that really shows your resilience as an aspiring health professions provider? So when we're looking at your application, think about these competencies. And so particularly, like, for example, if I wanted to show that I have a teamwork competency, I would come back to my application and I would think, what sections of my preparation show that I have teamwork capacity? And so we might look at our personal biography section, which includes all of the sections of activities that you've engaged in. So for example, a teamwork activity might actually be an extracurricular activity that I may have engaged in. For example, if I have been a part of a service organization or a social organization, this might be a place to include, I participated in this fraternity or sorority, or for example, I'm part of this honor society, and we put together these events. You share the time that you've been involved in those, and then an approximate number of hours per month, and total cumulative hours. And again, this will be for all activities through October of this year. So if you did continue with this activity, you have to include it in the planned activity section. And here you have 500 characters to really talk about this organization. So you might share, this is a service organization where I'm engaged with different folks regarding planning and preparing different events throughout the year. That's one sentence right there. That might be, about 50 characters. And then you can use the rest of the space to talk about the way that you've engaged with others, the way that you've planned different events. If this is not sufficient space for you to use that, at the end of the personal biography section, you actually have the opportunity to highlight 3 different meaningful experiences, and this will give you an additional 500 characters to talk about these activities. So for example, we were mentioning a service organization earlier. And here we might include some information. I engaged with local community members to plan this activity. This included monthly meetings and engaging in service activities with the community. So here we have kind of a really quick example. Right here, it's only 148 characters. Obviously, you have a lot more space to talk about that. But when we're going back to the core competencies, we want to show that I have teamwork. So works collaboratively with others to achieve shared goals, shares information and knowledge with others, and provides feedback, puts team goals ahead of individual goals. And so back here in our application, we can already start seeing the foundation for how this activity might be a teamwork. But the reason why we provided this resource for your evaluators is so that they know that teamwork is one of the most important parts of your application, because it's showing these competencies. So for example, if you have reached out to the advisor or the facilitator for that organization to write you a letter, you might say, well, I'm really trying to focus on this competency of teamwork because I don't have that example elsewhere in my application. So when you're writing your letter, please focus on the teamwork aspect of the application and what that means for the organization and what you may have observed. So now when we're going back to writing the letter as your evaluator, you have something that really cements what it is that you're looking to really highlight in your application. and you're using the shared language that the schools have already outlined. So this is a really, really awesome resource for your evaluators. Further along, we do have some information. Unfortunately, this is one of the many points that prevents us from being able to accept the letter, and it causes some delays on your end. So we want to go ahead and highlight those. Your letters of evaluation have to be written on the letterhead. And what that means is that it includes contact information. We're specifically looking for a phone number and or an email address for your evaluator. It should also include a signature of your evaluator so that we can confirm that it's them who submitted it. And your name should be included. A lot of evaluators submit multiple letters, and so we want to make sure that's the correct one. And also, it has to be dated. We need to be able to see a date on your letter. And obviously, these have to be written in English. If your evaluator wants to write you a letter, but it's in a different language, you might hire or they might hire a translating organization so you can submit both the original letter and the certified translation so that we can upload that into your application. All right. So again, new resources that we have for you all based off of questions that we receive here at TMDSAS. And we want to make sure that this process is as easy as possible and as seamless for you and your evaluators. All right, we've got our first question here from Yeli. Thank you so much for watching, Yeli. Do undergraduate prerequisites expire after some time? Also, does it matter where those classes come from? I'm a non-traditional career changer. All right, this is a loaded question. So first off, I do want to commend you as a non-traditional student in pursuing this pathway. I know how difficult it is. And anybody out there pursuing the non-traditional pathway, huge kudos to you. If you have a similar story, do a quick roll call and let us know that you're watching. Yeli, with regards to your first question, our prerequisites here at TMDSAS actually do not expire. We don't. What we do in the application is we ask you to enter all courses that you've undertaken since you graduated from college. I'm sorry, graduated from high school. And so when we take a look at our coursework section, I'm going to go ahead and open my application here. I'm going to reveal some information about myself just so that you all see that I have similar info here. So in my high school, I graduated high school in Texas, and I went to the Valle High School in El Paso. There's my school. Here I am, and my class size back then was 550. And I was a huge nerd, so I was number 13 in that class. I did not take the SAT or the ACT at the time, so here we go. And now I can continue on with the rest of my application. So when my college is attended, I've already preloaded some information here, but you can see that I've entered coursework since I started college in 2005. And so when you're actually adding specific schools, like say here for UT Austin, you actually outline which semester you started. So this can go back, if you started school in 1900, you can enter that you started school back in 1900, and huge kudos to you for being around and for wanting to pursue this pathway, if that's your case. And so we don't have any requirements at TMDSAS for the expiration of any coursework. When you complete your application, you actually will go down to a chronology of activities. And I have not completed my application. You all will have to forgive me. But what this does is it takes everything from your education and all of your activities and creates a chronology that outlines everything that you've been engaged in since you graduated from high school. So this is one of the reasons why we want to make sure that everything has been captured. Any gap larger than 3 months will cause an error for this page. So you want to make sure that every gap is taken care of. And so this is an opportunity for you to kind of like outline what's going on there. Yeli, as a non-traditional student, I feel for you for having to enter more information. But this is essentially what we do here at TMDSAS. Now, some of our schools may actually show a preference for newer coursework. For example, if your coursework is over 10 years old, there have been significant changes to sciences in the past 10 years. We have a whole new telescope out in space now that didn't exist 10 years ago. There have been new findings in different science areas. And so if you have coursework that's older than 10 years old, I would recommend that you sit down with a health professions advisor and kind of figure out how you can show that you still own those uh, competencies with scientific systems and with human behavior, especially since the MCAT actually changed about 8 years ago. And so if you are a reapplicant or a non-traditional student who may be prepared for pre-med pathway over 10 years ago, that preparation is actually much different now. And you see that reflected in the MCAT and the types of questions and the sections that there are. So yeah, I would say if you have older coursework, definitely talk to your health professions advisor and make sure that they understand your pathway. They can take a look at your entire uh, uh, coursework record. And here, if you do not have access to a health professions advisor or you don't know who it is on your campus, you can actually go to this website, and I'm going to share the link here. Find your advisor. So there's the link to this page. And on this page, you can actually, one, search for your existing advisor at your school. So just to pick on the school I went to UT Austin. Oops, I probably have to type in University of Texas. Well. There we go. So here I pulled up the University of Texas, and it's showing me the advisors that are registered at the school that are part of the National Association of Advisors. So here I know I can reach out to Victoria Carrillo, UT Austin. We've got Leslie Riley at UT Austin, Brooke Sheets at UT Austin, Avni Trivedi at UT Austin. And so this is a great way for you to find who your health professions advisor is on this link. If you do not have access to a health professions advisor or they're not on here, you can request to be paired with a volunteer advisor. And these are folks that have been a part of NAP and have decided to volunteer their time. This is a completely free resource for you. And as you see, it's a pretty quick application to submit and make sure that you get the help that you need. So Yeli, really long way of saying the schools will take a look at older prerequisites, but you really want to keep in mind that you want to show that you're still academically engaged. This is especially important for our dental applicants. I don't know what type of applicant you are, but for dental applicants, we've had several conversations with the dental schools talking about wanting applicants to have science engagement up until the point of matriculation. For the second part of your question, does it matter where classes come from, whether it's a community college or a university, if it's online or in person? The schools will take a look at this, but I do want you to know that as long as the course is taken at an institution that is accredited, this should not be an issue for you. So one of the ways that you can take a look at this is through the organization CHIA. Give me 1 second. I can share this link. So CHIA is the Council on Higher Education Accreditation. And this organization is essentially what we use in order to identify whether a school is accredited. So as long as your undergrad or graduate school is accredited, it will be part of your application, and that GPA will be counted. And really, there should be no difference between community college and university. Now, I will share a word of caution here. Keep in mind that as you're going through your career in higher ed, that for example, a community college course in biology might be geared toward a different population than if you were to take a a course for pre-med students, for example. So like you have science for medical students and science for pre-meds or pre-health majors, and then you have science courses for non-pre-med majors or pre-health majors. There is a distinction between those two. So you do want to pay attention to something like that to make sure it doesn't impact your application. Courses for non-science majors by and far are not accepted. So that's something that you do want to keep an eye out for. And if you have specific questions, then you'll definitely want to talk to your health professions advisor. All right, Yeli, and you shared your med school applicant, currently a scientist at a lab, awesome. So yeah, hopefully that helped to answer some of your questions. I'm sorry that was much more long-winded than I would have wanted to do, but hopefully that helped answer some of your questions. All right, moving along with different aspects of the application here until we get the next question. I'm going to show off one of the big issues that we've been encountering for our veterinary applicants who have already submitted their applications, but I do want to make sure that everybody that's applying, that it's a dental, medical, or podiatry applicant, is aware of. And that has to do with the payment page for the application. So I want you all to, I just want to share, when you're going through your application, you do have access to all the different sections here. The very last section is going to be your payment page. Since I haven't completed any of my sections, I'm still getting this error, so there is a way to kind of provide a fail-safe for you. However, when you do go through this page, once you submit your payment, that means your application is submitted. So do not go to your submit payment page until you are ready to submit your application. Also, we've been encountering a lot of issues with applicants who have been entering the incorrect address or zip code. And what that does is that it actually will reject the payment. And so I really want to urge you all to get to this section and submit your application in a timely manner so you're not stuck in a position where the system keeps rejecting your payment. We did encounter that several times yesterday with our veterinary applicants, and unfortunately some of them missed the deadline. So make sure that you take the time to go through your application, have it prepared to go, and hit that submit page and submit your payment. And when you do, be very, very careful that your security code, your zip code, and your address, as they're being entered into that system, do match exactly what the bank has in place. Some banks have been placing holds for every time a payment is rejected, which has meant that some applicants have, several instances of the $215 application fee being held by their bank. And so really, really want to make sure that you're very cautious in this section. And again, it's the last thing that you're going to do before your application is submitted. If you have additional questions about this, we do have a support page here under the application handbook. So we do have the application certification statements that you'll agree to before you submit. And then further down, information about the payment. For example, why was the payment declined? There's a 3 or 4 digit security code called a CVV. Billing address or zip code could be faulty. The bank could be placing an authorization on your charge, even though the payment hasn't gone through. And so that's something you really want to be careful with. Some FAQs around using a corporate card, a gift card. If you are using a card that doesn't have a US zip code, contact your bank. And if you live in a different country, please contact the bank so that you know what to enter in those sections. And again, I really urge you to make sure that you are completing your application in a timely manner, but also making sure that you balance that against having a quality application. We've heard that so much from our schools, and it really is important, and it really benefits you as the applicant to make sure that you have what you need. All right, it looks like we are done with our questions here. Again, if you have any questions, any concerns, please feel free to send us an instant message through the application. If you have any questions, we are very happy to help you with those. And If there's anything else that we can do here at TMDSAS to help support you and your success to professional school, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to help. So on behalf of all of our 21 member institutions, the Texas Health Education Service and TMDSAS, I'd like to wish each of you all of the best of luck in this application cycle. We are here to help you, so don't hesitate to reach out. And until next time, take care. Thanks.